Hello, folks. I'm Detroit Miracle. Yes, and indeed. Right now, I am here to have some more cool comic book characters fun. And this such character will be the mutant Apocalypse in the X-Men verse. This particular discussion will be about Apocalypse's power levels shown on film in the live action compared to his characterizations of powers that he has in the comics, as well as novels, graph novels, and etc. In other words, so I'm here to say now that I followed Apocalypse, the mutant, and he's more like a mutant god. He's been around for at least 4,000 years and counting. In the comic book, they have him with insane power levels in the comic books and the cartoon adaptations. But in the movies, they sort of removed his alien powers. He has a suit that gives him various types of gadget powers, weaponry, everything that's contained within that suit. So it's sort of like it's an alien suit made by alien gods, and apparently Apocalypse got a hold of some of the metal and he made it into his suit, so he wears it. So that suit can also give him various unlimited types of weaponry, fusion weapons, lasers, cannons, rockets, and everything else that can essentially cause damage and destruction. His celestial armor gives him that. In the comic books and in the cartoons, Apocalypse is seen constantly using that advantage against his enemies. So, in other words, he has celestial weaponry and technology added to his mutant abilities, which are vast. They're too vast to count. I noticed that in the movies, the live action one, they sort of scaled down on Apocalypse's powers because you weren't seeing him doing the massive, incredible things that he does in the comic books or the cartoons. In the comic books and cartoons, Apocalypse can grow to any size he wants to grow to. So, in other words, he could be as tall and big as King Kong. But in the movies, he showed none of that type of prowess in terms of shape shifting and sizing up or down. Yeah, Apocalypse has the Ant-Man power as far as being able to get tall or shrink itself down. But in a live action film, they showed none of that. And I noticed it's been happening frequently with characters that they adapt from comic book stories. They tend to scale back on their powers if they bring them to the big screen. There are some that are not a part of that whole thing, like Superman, Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman, Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, and many others. They didn't scale back on their powers as far as when you see them in the comic books or the cartoons. They brought their full brunt to the big screen. A lot of characters, but not all of the characters. Some of the supervillains and superheroes, they do scale back on their powers and restrict them when they bring them to live action, but not necessarily all superhero comic book characters in terms of superheroes and supervillains. But when you read the comic books, watch the comic books, watch the cartoons, and then go see your favorite characters adapted on the big screen, you tend to notice these things as far as their decreasing powers in certain areas. Yeah, folks. Well, thanks for hanging out for the cool discussion.